This is where we got stuck last time.
Well,
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Clement, as you know, the director of the Hippocrates Health Institute, along with Anna Maria Gons, who happens to be sitting right here in the room with us today. And we're launching our new program, Brian, Anna Maria, and Friends. And every week on Tuesday at 1 p.m., one of us are going to be on here. It's going to be sort of a surprise guest. Sometimes you'll be surprised I'm on too much. You won't be happy I'm on as often as I can be. And Anna Maria, who is much nicer than me, she'll be on sometimes. And then some of our key team members here. It's an amazing thing to work at the Institute, because not only do we see people arrive here from all over the earth and bring about their own healings, but we have the opportunity to come in here and work with really gifted people in what they do. Our psychotherapists, our medical teams, our people who even clean the rooms here, are counseling our guests. So each week we're going to have a different subject. And this week we chose this Tuesday, and then tune in next Tuesday at 1. And of course, this will be available for you to watch after, if you're not around on Tuesday at 1. And we're going to talk about 3 foods that either heal you or prolong your life, or better yet, heal you and prolong your life. And you probably suspect I'm going to talk about green stuff. Well, of course I am, because green stuff has the most scientifically validated backing, the empirical data that shows you how incredibly important it is. So let's take a short voyage through that. Back in the beginning of time, there was the planet Earth, which was covered with water. There was no land, only under the water. There was no land popping out of that water. We had a sun, which is a star that's in close proximity to us. And that star throws off from solar storms protons every single day. They move so rapidly that they actually turn into light. Now, what evolved hundreds and hundreds of millions of years ago as the very first life form was microscopic algae, green algae, blue-green algae. And what that did is capture the energy from the sun and give birth to other life forms. What then occurred is the very first land popped up out of the water, and that's called Australia, the continent and the country. And before you know it, the bottom of the ocean started to come up and hit that land and create the very first beaches on the planet Earth. These invisible algae had already spawned what we today call sea vegetables. So now, besides the microscopic algae that were the original life form, we had sea algae, which are dulse, arami, haziki, wakame, and God knows how many other varieties that either don't exist today or we've yet to discover. And that sand now was getting the invisible algae to move back and forth on it, back and forth. And what was born out of that is grass. So today we're going to speak about the 3 most significant, most nutritious, and most healing plants on the planet Earth. And most of us have never eaten this, as I did not at one point. As a matter of fact, if I'd heard somebody like me 52 years ago, I would have literally said, this guy is completely crazy. But we're going to focus in on blue-green algae and its very close brother, green algae. This not only has every existing element that will be in every living thing thereafter, but it has a wide variety of nutrients that are at the top. The highest amino acid profile, protein, the highest mineral profile, the highest essential fat profile. And in this case, it's quite unique, because essential fats are what your brain structure in great part is made of. And this particular food supplement, algae, blue-green algae, green algae, actually instantaneously puts those essential fats into the brain. So when we were kids and people called us fatheads, we would be insulted. We should have been complimentary to them, because the fatter your head is, seemingly the smarter we are. Some days I feel like I don't have enough fat in my head. How about you? So we want to get that essential fat. But we're going to come back and over-winding conversation we're going to have here is that all of these are loaded with the most phytonutrients, phytochemicals. These are the healing agents within. The second algae are what we mentioned earlier. Dulse, arami, haziki, wakame. These are phenomenally nutritious foods that are grown at the bottom of the ocean. Now, what makes them interesting, it amplifies the energy because when sunlight hits the water, it does something called refract. Refract means that one ray of sun may now turn into thousands of sub-rays. And so when these foods at the bottom of the ocean, these algae are growing, they amplify the nutrient benefit and have an electromagnetic frequency that's unique to sea and freshwater plants. So to eat these are spectacular. As a matter of fact, when Antony and I were brought to Russia shortly after Chernobyl, we use these foods not only to nourish people, but we actually use these foods to pull radiation and other heavy metals out of the body. Now we get to more well-known. The grass and their very, very close brother or sister called sprouts. This is the origin of all plants on the earth, on the soil. Now remember this is really interesting. Coming from a microscopic algae, it eventually became a redwood tree and eventually became you. How do you like that? You were invisible at one point. So when you look in the mirror and you see something, be thankful you're not invisible, or make yourself important enough so that you never feel invisible. So now what we have is the sprouts that, by the way, have the highest source of protein on land-based foods, vitamins, essential fats, minerals, and these phytonutrients, these phytochemicals. So when you're consuming these foods, and I know it's difficult for us to make this our entire diet, when Anna Marie and I are here in town, by weight, 50% of our diet come from these three foods. So when we're here at Hippocrates Health Institute and not traveling around the globe to meet and talk to some of you, as we're going to be doing starting next week in Europe, we'll be in Norway, we'll be in Sweden, we'll be in Germany, in Frankfurt and Berlin. We're going to be in Geneva, Switzerland to do a 2-day conference. We're going to be in Anchorage, in Turkey, and also Istanbul and the South. You can look this up on our website. But here's what I want to say to you. Why 50% of our diet is focused in on these superior foods. I hate the word superfood. It sounds immediately like sales. Oh, what's he going to sell me? Well, I'm talking about superior food, much better than superfood, is because these are the foods that build my muscle, make my cells strong, circulate my blood, make every organ in my body, which is made of cells and tissues, stronger, make my skeletal structure stronger, and ultimately, the most important, have these magic healing factors that nature and the universe put in there, called phytochemicals, phytonutrients. In my book, Life Force, I dedicated a chapter that took me a quarter of a century to establish this knowledge and information on sprouts going from A to B right to Z, and each and every one of those sprouts, what diseases they prevent and help you to reverse. In the future, I'll be writing more about the algae as we're getting more data, research, and lots more experience here at the Institute in a clinical setting with this. Look forward to that in the near future. As a matter of fact, by the end of this year, I'll be having a specific course with you here on a Tuesday that you can bring your friends and family around to tell you how to use algae, which can be supplements in powder form, capsule form, pills, etc., that you take on a daily basis as we do. We take 5 types of algae as part of our supplements every single day, other than the day we don't on fasting day. So we'll come back to that later.
We do have a question related to sprouts.
Now, we just have a question that came in. People are listening. I can't believe you're out there listening. What the heck are you doing on a Tuesday at this time of the day? But you could be in Europe. Could be night over there now. So now people say they're nauseous after drinking green drink. Ha ha ha.
Or wheatgrass.
So was I. Nauseous after drinking wheatgrass. So here is the easy answer. Then I'm going to give you the scientific answer. The easy answer is that the superior foods, in and of themselves, when you chew them and swallow them, are magnificent in change. These are filled with such energy, electromagnetic frequency, that all of the stagnant and bad things in your body, be it microbes or mutagens, be it low oxygen levels, are shaken up. When you take wheatgrass, when you take a green drink, it's like putting a blender on in your bloodstream. And so the body is doing the prerequisite exorcism to heal you. So you're being exercised for all of your sins. Now think about all the sins you've had. You say, well, I've been good. I've been eating good food. When you really look at what good food is versus what we know good food is, sometimes it's night and day. Now, what I would say to you is when wheatgrass makes you sick, we don't want to have an unfavorable feeling about wheatgrass. We want you to go back and do it. Take off a few days and then start with drops. And the drops become a half an ounce, and the half an ounce becomes an ounce. And all you really need for 98% of the people, unless you have really, really, really low blood counts, our medical team put people on more than this, is 2 ounces, ideally twice a day. So if it takes you a month to work up to that, or 2 months, perfectly fine. Remember, 2 ounces of wheatgrass have the nutritional potency that 5 pounds of fresh, organic, green plants taken from a garden and immediately juiced have. So 2 ounces of wheatgrass, the equivalent of the nutrients that are in 5 pounds of green leafy vegetables, freshly harvested, etc. I had the same thing happen to me. I can tell you here at the Institute, when we find people that say they like wheatgrass, one of two things happen. Either we think they're lying to us or they're saints, so we canonize them. I drink wheatgrass every single day, have now for nearly 50 years, and can tell you, I drink it, I don't love it, it doesn't make me sick anymore, but it makes me heal. Wheatgrass also has phytochemicals in it that effectively help you fight viruses, bacteria, cancers. Even if you don't have those disorders, or you're diagnosed, guess what? You want to fight them. Here's another question that came in. Best water to drink? Well, that's clear. Because if you've read my book, Killer Fish, when I was composing that over a several-year period, I had an opportunity to speak to 3 of the 7 leading oceanographic scientists on the planet Earth. And each and every one of these people told me the same thing, that every drop of drinking water from the North Pole to the South Pole today is contaminated with heavy metals and plastic. So if you have thousands of euros or thousands of dollars, you can put a whole house unit that will take that and other bad elements out. But if you don't, distillers do that. Now, I was really fortunate because a half a century ago, when I began my march towards health, distillers were popular. There weren't all of these convoluted machines and ideas and philosophies, and there wasn't money in the health field at that point. And so we were all told distillers were the best. So by default and damn good luck, I've been drinking distilled water, lots of it, a half a gallon or more every single day of my life since I was a young man in my early 20s. UCLA did a study on my bone density a number of years ago, and they were stunned because they expect that I would have a very weakened bone system since I didn't take dairy food and since I drank this weird stuff called distilled water that you put in irons and you put in radiators in cars. And they were reluctant to tell me I had the same bone density readings that their 20-year-old football players had at the University of California. So when you've heard that this robs the body of minerals, wrong. Hydrogen and oxygen does not have the ability to seduce the cells to release minerals that are in them. If you believe that, I'll also sing and tell you that I'm a great singer. The fact of the matter is that a lot that you hear out there is really salesmanship from institutions or corporations or businesses that are trying to do guerrilla marketing. It's called fear marketing. That's bad, this is good, etc. I'm walking living testament that distilled water is good. And by the way, when you're drinking green drinks and eating wheatgrass and taking the three superior foods, two forms of algae, microscopic blue and blue-green algae, green and blue-green algae, and the sea vegetables, and then also add on the sprouts that we're talking about. You're getting all the minerals that you possibly can take. As a matter of fact, I probably spill out 70% of the minerals that my diet is affording me every day because there's only so much the human body can take. Just this morning, by the way, early this morning, I was tested, and this is a scale that goes from 0 to 100, and I was actually at 100. Anna Maria was at 100. And the doctor who performed this he was skeptical about what we were doing, wanted to prove that what we did didn't work. And he said, I've never, ever seen in 15 years any readings like this. Went right to the top of the scale instantaneously to look at the antioxidants. These are particular nutrients that help the skin, and the reading is actually off the skin itself. So as far as water, it's easy, it's inexpensive. Buying distilled water in plastics, not a great idea. But in fact, making your own distilled water. If you're a single person, it's a very inexpensive proposition for a few $100s. If you're two people or more, you get the unit we have. The company we like, and we're not trying to sell a unit to you, is Pure Water. They're family owned, they're in Nebraska, salt of the earth people. I've had mine for 47 and a half, almost 48 years. It never broke. It's on a daily basis. So that's the answer. We have another question here. Look at this one. What is the best way to get my family on the diet? Well, I really strongly advise that you get chains and a ball, and you lock them up in the kitchen and you say, this is what we're going to eat. And if you don't like it, you have an option, starvation. Let's all joking aside. I think what happens, and I know I was obnoxious when I started this, is that once we find the level of health and vitality and consciousness that the Hippocrates Living Food Program gives us, that we're so excited we go evangelically out around the world and we talk to our families and friends and coworkers and we make them nauseous. We become like the priest of living food, the priest of raw food. In the first 10 years I did this, looking back, and all of you, I'm telling you it's probably very similar, is that we're really doing this not because we want to help the other people. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone you knew and your family and friends all were eating this way? So that's our ulterior motive for doing this. So I must have turned away 10 million people in the first 10 years. Once I shut my mouth and I became very confident and very secure in embracing a life-building, a mind-changing lifestyle and diet, I started to be more effective. When you become a walking, talking, living example, people then ask the questions. They follow you. Now, parents out there, obviously, you're the guides for your children. Become parents. Don't sit around and tell me it's hard to get your children to eat this. What kind of parent would allow their child to eat anything that's going to be harmful? Remember, today, disease is rampant with our kids. Obesity is rampant. I know people that are 100% on this diet, and I look at their kids and they're overweight. What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these parents? So this is what you eat in your house. So that's how you get your family to do it. Unless your children, by the way, go out and get independent jobs, buy their own car, and shop at the grocery store and bring it home, you're in charge of that food. Now, many of you, to breach the subject that's most touchy, have men at home. People from my end of the species. And we men have been very insecure about not eating animals. Because somehow we have this caveman ideology that, our masculinity, our virility, our sexuality, all of this really interesting stuff is important only because we eat animals. But the opposite is true. What we know biologically and scientifically, if a man eats an animal, he becomes more feminine. Not because it's Brian's opinion, because they inject into these animals female hormones to fatten them up so that you can eat a lot of that flesh. And if you want to be feminine, eat meat, including fish, including chicken, turkey, pork, red meat. If you want to further be feminized, take milk. Milk is perpetually impregnating a cow so that you could drink the secretion out of another species. That will feminize you even quicker, so you can double feminize. I was lucky I had a lot of testosterone when I was eating meat. Otherwise, it would have been a girl, no question about it. It would have turned immediately into a girl. And the last one is eggs. Yes, eggs too are part of this thing, because what they're doing is in very odd situations, even under the so-called organic eggs and free range. These are factory farms. Don't let anyone have you believe that there's nice chickens running around and they're playing Mozart to them and everyone's being nice to them. What they're doing is pumping them full of garbage, even the organic ones. And in my book, Poison Poultry, I address this. Any of you that are really, really interested in this basically should read that book. Now, let me show you what our meal will be today. This is our meal today. Now, anyone that would not think that this meal with this raw burger there that tastes better than any burger, it's well beyond the Beyond Burger, I can tell you this. The Beyond Burger is beyond belief. This is beyond reality. This is one that's going to build the muscle, build the brain, build and get your libidos going, both boys and girls. That's why Anna Maria feeds me this stuff. She says, more of those burgers, boy. I'm adherent to that. So what you have to know is that sprouts are important. Every single sprout has the highest medicine in it, as we said, the highest nutrition in it. And make that part of your diet. If this is new to you, as it was to us at one point, pick your favorite one and put that into your salad. Put it in your juice. Here at Hippocrates, all our green juice are half sprouts. And the sprouts we have anti-cancer agents in them. They have antiviral agents, protease, which breaks down the bad guys within the body. So these are food medicine. When we train Olympic athletes here, and many of you may not know this, but even before my time, I joined the team in 1975. Dick Gregory, God bless me, passed last year, the social activist and comedian, trained Muhammad Ali on this diet, and he won 2 of his fights. I'm not a fight enthusiast, but that should be impressive to all of you. Muhammad Ali, to me, was one of the great Americans that stood by his values and did what he thought was right. Also, Venus Williams is on this diet. So these aren't diets for sissies. You're sissies if you're not on this diet. You may want to see the film that will be out very soon, October 1st, called The Game Changer. As a matter of fact, I just found out yesterday that The Game Changer has more pre-orders for it than any film in the history of Hollywood. The Game Changer. And for those of you that doubt that you get all this superior nutrition that builds muscle in it, once you see that movie, I think you're going to change the way you feel. Most of you don't realize you've become agents for the meat and dairy industry. That what you know and what your mother knows and what the teachers know and what the, quote, mainstream nutritionists know is all propaganda to sell a product that's not only destroying your health and that of your children and your family and your friends and your community, but the health of the planet Earth. So some of you out there are very politely moderate. I don't like moderates. I like people who take stands on things. Don't be moderate on this. Don't tell me you're an environmentalist and eat organic chicken. That's bullshit. That's what I'm going to tell you. And don't tell me that, you don't eat meat, you eat fish. What do you think fish is? It's a swimming meat. You just don't see it when you drive on the Jersey Turnpike. Don't tell me that you have to have eggs because it's a real food. You're really a sap if you believe those marketing real food ideas. The guy who, by the way, did that died of a coronary initially, the actor. So I'm here today to say that life is a lot easier once you do what you're supposed to do. That there's no need for you to go down the path of, status quo. You don't have to follow corporate directives, and that's what you're doing at this point. You don't have to, feel awkward when you do the right thing around family and friends who are going to ridicule you because they don't have the courage and the guts and the foresight and the ability to make the changes themselves. So rather than support you when you're elevating yourself in health and well-being, they're going to try to drag you back down to the old dark hole that most of humanity lives in today. And someday along the way, if you have been here at Hippocrates, we hope to see you again. 80% of our guests return here. We're having a lot more fun here than we've ever had. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to keep growing. The last thing I want to say before checking off today is that the most important film ever made on the environment and human health is coming out February 2020. And you can see the trailer for that right now. It's Eating Our Way to Extinction. So I only have, and my colleagues, friends, and Anna only have 30 minutes with you once a week to give you this new information and data. But this is a way to get more information by looking at these films that I'm talking about, by reading our books, by getting online, looking at all the film that has been made worldwide on conferences and lectures we do. Every year we generate 1 or 2 new books. 4 or 5 times a year we change new presentations we're making. And so we're always looking at the latest data, the latest science on it. The other day, Anna Marie and I, when we were about ready to go to bed, she said, look at this. This was a remarkable study. I'm going to leave you with this one, where the doctor, the research physician in Britain, actually won an award from the Queen. She discovered that when a baby, an infant, is suckling on the mother's breast, that the saliva of the baby goes in and, like a sophisticated computer program, tells the mother's immune system what they need to fight the problem the baby has. Now, this is amazing, amazing information. We're on the new frontier of consciousness. And what we're finding is that consciousness and diet and lifestyle and epigenetics is all one thing. That within our lifetime, we have the potential not to separate the sciences, but to unify the sciences and to recognize that the answers are quite simple. You don't need a graduate degree to know how to live. What you need is self-respect and love. Until next week, take good care of yourself, be well, and become part of the human race.